Listen, we officially got a trade, and this is wild. It's official. It really. I mean, I don't really understand this move. Trey Young. It was reports that this was his preferred destination, even though you had teams on the table. We're gonna get into these teams that Trey Young possibly could have went to, but this just. I mean, I don't understand this move. It just screams a money play to me. The Wizards, we all know Trey Young is coming up on he may be opting out and trying to re up on a longer deal for all we know. Um, so that's the only thing I understand this move. I don't think I could see why this happened was because they are looking to basically just like I said, they're not looking to win. I mean, is Trey Young gonna be able to bring anybody to Washington? I mean, you got to think you couldn't bring nobody to Atlanta, So I mean, are you gonna be able to actually attract people to Washington? This trade doesn't make any goddamn sense. Um, the Washington Wizards, they're going nowhere fast, but they could make a little ascension with Trey Young. Trey Young is going to be going there pretty motivated. Um, it's a lot because Atlanta basically pushed his ass out the door. He did a lot for Atlanta. The Hawks, they clearly are looking to move on. They got the kid Johnson. They're not looking to build around Trey Young. For all of the things people want to say about him defensively, Trey Young took these dudes almost to the finals that year. I mean, so many historical runs. Obviously, I'm a Knicks fan, so I've seen the importance of Trey Young, how his shot making was through the roof. I seen all of that. So I mean, listen, man, Trey Young out in Atlanta. We knew this was coming. Is finally here. But when you hear teams like Milwaukee, in talks of getting you, when you hear teams like Minnesota, these were the teams that I heard possibly in the running for Trey Young. So how in the hell could you end up and pop out and say your preferred destination is to the Wizards? See, that's why I'm saying all of this seems to be about money to me. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100 with you because he should be trying to compete for a title. You see, I'm hearing that it's some connection. I mean, the connection is still null and void. This is the Washington Wizards. This is the worst team in basketball, and this is where you elected to go to. Now if I'm teams like Charlotte, you got to start to get concerned because um you got it's just bad. You can't allow Washington to usurp you. In the Eastern Conference, all of these things is possible. Um, the Indiana Pacers have a much worse record. Not would say much worse, but the record is worse. You're talking about the Wizards this season being 10-26. And what I didn't like about Trey Young is some of the preferred destinations was teams like Brooklyn, the Wizards. I mean, Trey Young is knocking on the door of a couple seasons ago of getting to the finals. I don't know why Trey Young didn't want to talk about going to Minnesota. Minnesota is on the door. They're knocking at the door for a title. Minnesota has been in talks for guys like John Morant. I heard LaMelo Ball's name potentially. So Minnesota clearly was going after a guard. They got a big SGA issue. Trey Young, I think he came out of Oklahoma. So I mean, this didn't make no sense to me. I thought that he should have really pushed to get to Minnesota. I think for a guy like Trey, now if you're a different type of player, I just don't see it. What is he really gonna get for bringing Washington to the postseason this year is a wash. I don't. Trey Young is not going to be able. Is he going to add a spark? Of course, it's Trey Young. If you Washington, you got to think about it. You just acquired a superstar potentially in your eyes. You've upgraded. Clearly, he says he want the money. He going to give him that exactly. That's the connection. Is a guy who drafted him. The reports came out. The guy who drafted Trey Young is in Washington, so that's the reason why Trey Young was pushing to get there. Because, like I said, it makes no sense. Minnesota wasn't going to give him the max. I don't believe he was going to be featured. I mean, obviously, Minnesota is back to the line. You got Edwards there. You got Julius. That's why I don't understand why you didn't move there. You got guys like Dante DiVincenzo there. You open up the floor tremendously for a guy like Edwards. You're talking about a potentially a poor man Steph Curry. This is what you're getting out of Trae Young. And at times Trae Young could be great. Let's stop acting like he won't go on the stretch. And he usually elevates his game in the playoffs. So that's why I don't understand why you didn't fight for that. It was the Kings or the Wizards. See, I didn't know about the Kings, but I did hear I heard of talks of Brooklyn. You know, all these teams are not teams that's looking to compete, are on the door of postseason success. A lot of these teams that he will be going to is just a one and done situation. You know, it is what it is. Him going to Washington is he's just going to be it's going to be like how he was in Atlanta. It might probably worse. Now, could he elevate? They did draft this rookie, um, Alex Sarr. Pardon me. The way things is moving, they're gonna get another draft pick next year. So who's to say they don't get a top 3, top 5 pick? Now they're getting Trae Young. Do you think about moving that move? What is Washington trying to do now? I mean, seriously. I'm pretty sure Trae Young is looking to compete in some capacity. He's coming to Washington, so I know he ain't looking at no championship. But is he looking to possibly go ahead of Atlanta? This is what I'm saying. I think that could be something that he looks to do, where it may not happen this year, but next year. You build this team. They got a lot of people here. I mean, I know people don't watch Washington, but you got this kid, Calaberry, if I'm not mistaken. You got some people here. They still got Middleton. So if Washington wanted to maybe rattle off a 7-8 game win streak, that you might be able to put yourself in position. So it's some people here on the Washington Wizards now. They're not sitting here like devoid. I mean, the talent level is clearly compromised, but you just drafted the kid Trae Johnson. You got the guy Keyshawn George. You got a lot going on. You know, Trae Young's time in Atlanta was done. I wish Hawks fans showed him a little bit more promise, because who's to say that these Hawks that you got now is going to be able to do anything? The coach, I'm pretty sure he's going to be fired eventually. And that's the guy that they got from Utah, who they thought was going to be doing this and that. So, I mean, clearly it didn't work out like that. But Trae Young is going. The deal involves C.J. McCollum, this kid Corey Crispit. This is a guy. Corey Crispit is a guy that Atlanta was targeting. Shout out Rap Guy Reloaded. Atlanta wanted him, and they finally got him. This kid Corey. Let's see what this guy brings to the table, because they was adamant that they got this guy in the deal. So I mean, did they get the return that they needed for Trae Young? These guys devalue their talent so bad. This kind of stuff happens. But this guy Corey Crispit is a 6'6" small forward. This season he's averaging 9 points per game, shooting 49% from the field, 39% from three. This guy clearly he can mix it up a little bit defensively. So I mean, all of these things, look to be solid. He's been around, for a couple of seasons. Um, they've been pulling this guy. He hardly has even played this year, as I'm looking at some of his, stuff. So I mean, whenever you trade a star, an all-star, a potential budding superstar, I think it was times where Trae Young showed superstar qualities. This is now they can get off Middleton. I mean, let's see what they're gonna do with Middleton. I know that Trae Young, he should be able to work with Chris Middleton, in my opinion. So let's see let's see what Washington want to do. Do they want to compete, or do they just want to just say forget about it? So all of these things are, we're gonna have to wait and see what they're gonna do. It's still early, but we got breaking news in the association. Trae Young. We don't have to wait. For all my Hornets fans that's in the building, the Hornets, man, man. LaMelo went from looking like he hit the game-winning layup to you got the Raptors quickly just bust him upside the head with that three. So I mean, teams like Charlotte, if you the Charlotte Hornets, could you already got Toronto, Orlando, Detroit, a lot of teams that you kind of was in the pack with a couple of seasons ago. They've all, turned it up a notch. They've made moves. They've done things to put themselves in winning positions. Now you look at the Washington Wizards, who is a laughing stock of a franchise. Nobody takes them seriously. They go off and they make this move for Trae Young. People are scratching their heads trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But they got the best player in this deal, and Trae Young should elevate the Washington Wizards. He's going to get a lot of run. He's going to be able to do him. This team, nobody in the Wizards is going to hold Trae Young accountable. He's coming there as the savior. He's going to have DC behind him. Let's see if he connects with John Wall. Let's see. Wizards are finished. That's why I said this seems to me as he's going to come to Washington and just put up a lot of points. Sell some tickets. That's the only thing I see. You do, like I said, you do have this kid, Alex Sarr. Now that you bring in Trae Young, who's going to bring attention, that pick and roll should be something. So I mean, let's see now. Now that you got Trae in Washington, things start to percolate. They're not getting no free agents. But do you start making moves? You about to get I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a pick this year. You got players on this team. You got Kyler Berry. You got Johnson. What are you doing there? What's the end goal? Is it Trae Young and Sarr? Are they the untouchable ones, and then everybody else could be expendable? So we got to figure out what's the direction Washington want to go in. Do they want to compete, or do they want to have one foot in and one foot out? But something tells me with Trae Young, they're gonna go competitive. Now, how long it's gonna be successful is gonna be, the answer, because they very well can run into the same issues Atlanta was going into. He can't defend. He's undersized. He's this and that. But come on, let's stop acting like what he don't bring to the table. So allow him to just completely go crazy offensively. That's what I believe is gonna happen. And we're gonna be watching a show. Get the popcorn. Trae Young in Washington. He's gonna be putting up 30 plus, 35, 40. Mind you, this is a contract year where he could potentially opt in. The contract is almost like worth 50 million. So I mean, if you was Atlanta, you didn't want to pay that. Especially if you feel you're not really getting what you want, and they moving in a different direction. They got players now who are elevating, who they want to put into that situation. You also they drafted a bust. So I mean, Trae should have been left. Washington that wasn't trying to compete for a while. So that's what I'm saying. We're gonna see what Washington do to add. I think this is the first domino here. And they're gonna move on. You got Middleton there. Middleton is a big expiring contract. They could really do something. Whether they trade for somebody, I don't know who it's going to be, because who do you really have? Who's going to possibly want a Middleton? What if they trade for Anthony Davis? And they pay a Saw, AD, all these. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing names out there right now. So we don't know, but Trae Young definitely. They've gotten better. Washington has improved. So like I said, I'm looking at Charlotte. You got teams trading for stars. Whether you want to devalue Trae Young and say he this, he that, he's a force to be reckoned with once he get cooking. We know this. And Washington won this trade. CJ McCollum, I mean, it's almost over with. He's definitely fell from the glory days. CJ. I think the last good years we've seen of CJ was when he was in New Orleans. That one year. That was probably like the last year of prime CJ. I just seen a gradual decline in CJ McCollum. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's due to the team, but something's not right. Noble knowledge says maybe get Cat from the Knicks. I mean, I don't think the Knicks want anything Washington dishing out. Knicks gonna have to get a superstar. They just trying to get Giannis. They ain't got no Giannis over there. They don't got no other star. Atlanta. I mean, Washington don't have nobody who you trying to get. Who the Knicks gonna trade for? Middleton. Middleton is finished. So it's not feasible. And Washington got a little good. They got off that CJ contract. I wasn't surprised they was gonna try to throw Middleton everybody in the deal. Because if I'm pretty sure that's what Washington was trying to do too. Get off this contract. CJ McCollum is not really it didn't really pan out well. And give CJ and them credit because they came to Washington, looking to play, looking to compete, not complaining. It wasn't the ideal situation. More moves are on the way, potentially. But you clearly see, I mean, you seen teams throw their hands out there. Minnesota, they looking in talks for a point guard. If John Morant comes up, LaMelo comes up, all of these teams you seen, Brooklyn, these are the teams that's going to be in the running. Shout out to Chuck Morris. Y'all, let me know what your thoughts. We got breaking news in the association. Trae Young has moved on. He's headed to Washington. Y'all let me know what you think Washington is going to be able to do. I don't believe it's going to be too much. But I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. Trae wanted his own team in the bag. That's what it looks like. You got to think a lot of times it's not always greener on the other side where you go from being the face of the franchise, everything runs through you, and then you're gonna go to a team where you the fifth option. Because if you go to Minnesota, you're not before, even though he's better than Julius, but you're not going ahead of Julius in Minnesota. He's been there before you. The whole team is going to run around Edwards. This is the things that even LaMelo fans and, even Ja Morant fans need to think about. If they don't go to a team like even Luka, he went to the Lakers. That team, I mean, LeBron is on decline. If LeBron was in his prime, it still would have been going through LeBron. So if you're looking at a guy like LaMelo, if he gets moved potentially to a Minnesota, he's not the number one option. Is he the second option out there? He should be. But who's to say that he will be in Minnesota when you got other people there, that was there before you and things like that. But the Hawks did win today. The rookie, Risicher, 25 points, 8 rebounds, and a block. So Atlanta did win. So let's see. Let's see what Atlanta how they where they're gonna take their season. Let's see, because like I said, the Hawks, in my opinion, I think they should have traded Trae Young a long time ago, if you ask me. But it is what it is. Trae Young is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Trae Young is headed to the Washington Wizards. The move is official. We don't have to sugarcoat anything. It was talks that possibly it was other teams in the running. He requested a move from from the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks right now are 10th in the Eastern Conference. They're 17-21. And you got Washington at 10-26. So Trae Young has been traded to a team that's worse. Mind you, it wasn't that he was, and a lot of people got under, he wanted Washington, So he came out and said he want to go to the Wizards. How many people come out and say they want to go to Washington? So we're gonna find out. And at the end of the day, people are going to. They said Trae Young left the arena the moment he got traded. So Trae Young was in it. Was on the Hawks bench. I'm looking at some highlights right now. Trae Young was getting traded. He looked like he was wearing street clothes, and he went to the back. So they was making the move happen. He literally got traded in the middle of the game. So I mean that's wild for the people that was in the arena. Noble Knowledge says, I'm surprised they didn't do a straight up swap with Ja. Trae elected to go to Washington. I want to repeat, they didn't just trade him to the Wizards. He said that was his preferred destination. So as Trae Young has the Washington Wizards as his top preferred destination. So clearly, this is what he wanted to go to, and I believe it's because Washington has the money to pay him a max contract. He very well could just leave. I mean, not leave. Pardon me. He very well could opt out of this deal where he's getting like on close to 49 million or something like that. Well, I think he's gonna opt out with Washington. I think that if you go to a team like Minnesota, teams like you opt in, because I don't think they're gonna pay you over a course of 5 years or whatever you're looking to do. You go to Washington, they're gonna put the bag up. Look, Trae Young, he come out, electrify DC. They don't got nobody, and mind you, Trae Young about to sell tickets. People about to buy them tickets in Washington. They're, sellouts. I don't know about sellouts, but the crowd should be kind of packed out a little bit, especially in the beginning, especially if Trae start electrifying, which I believe is going to happen because he's going to be looking to get a contract. I truly believe all of this is for him to get a deal. The Wizards got the most money. This was a money play. This was not a winning play. Trae Young didn't chase a championship here. He didn't chase competing. He chased money. So it is what it is. You don't go from Atlanta to Washington. And what is he gonna say on the podium? This was a win now move. He's gonna have to go and lead this team, which I believe he can do. Now they have a leader, they have a closer. Things get tight. You don't have to rely on the old CJ, on the old Chris Middleton. You give the ball to Trae, get the hell out the way. They have all of these things now with the Washington, with this one move. So let's see what happens. Defensively, you got guys like Saw there, to help clean up things in the middle. Because Trae Young will be getting beat defensively. Let's just keep it 100. They said they'll probably get Kuminga from the Warriors. That'd be crazy. Something tells me they're not done, but I do think with Trae being in Washington now, you start to see, oh, okay. I think that's the first domino potentially. I'm not saying that, like I said, this Washington, this ain't New York, this ain't Miami, this ain't LA. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to actually bring in a free agent, but maybe make another sneaky move because you do got a lot of young talent. You got draft picks. I mean, you got a little wealth of chips here, and I don't believe any draft picks was in this move. This is how bad they devalued Trae Young. I don't understand. Was there any draft picks in this deal? I didn't see any picks. So that's what I'm saying. What did they do to Trae Young with the value? That's what I'm saying. These teams are. It's like they shooting themselves. They don't. It's crazy. And look at the returns. Come on, Trae Young. I mean, listen, you got to think about this, man. What was this? Mikal Bridges went for how many first round picks? I mean, seriously. This is Mikal, who never even made an All-Star team. Desmond Bain, what, 4 first rounders? They're not even All-Stars. These are like budding, knocking on the door candidates. You know, So I mean, they clearly devalued this guy. Trae should have went for a haul of first round picks. I mean, because as much as they want to say, "Oh, he ain't this, he ain't that," he's going to bring a lot more value to Washington than these two fools is going to bring to Atlanta. So I'm surprised Atlanta couldn't even get a first rounder. They couldn't even get two or three second round picks. I mean, this is bad. You got to think you Washington, them first round picks, them things high. So you don't want to start giving up all that value. So it's wild. But yeah, I'm saying that Trae Young traded mid game. You know, cameras catch Hawk start saying bye to teammates and coaches during Pell's game. So I think he knew he wanted to go to Washington. They pushed him out the door, man. They don't want to play you. You're doing all these things. To basically get you up out of town. So I mean, it's wild to say the least, y'all. But nonetheless, it's flight sports, man. This shit is crazy. You know, um, this is what the first big domino is. Giannis next. I really think he should have thought about. If I was him, I would have thought about potentially going to Milwaukee too. Even though it's up in the air, you don't know what's gonna happen. But this was not a Trae Young going into a situation where I'm gonna go try to compete for a title. Trae Young was thinking about the bag, and let's hope that he gets it. As you can see, these players are prioritizing the bag. They're not thinking about winning. So it's something that Trae Young is gonna have to answer, and I think that the veterans in this league gonna hold him accountable. Trae done made some money now. So it's looking like he just jumping on a payday. He's gonna have to prove people wrong because he's got to go there and actually win in Washington. He's got to hope that Washington could bring in the people to shake this narrative. But right off the bat, this gonna be a crazy narrative. Like to Washington, what where? So it's a mess. He's staying in the Eastern Conference. No draft picks. So this is a new precedent that we're seeing right now. I think teams are getting upset, especially what they was giving away for some of these other players. Picks ain't really going out like that. But y'all let me know. Shouldn't have been some first round picks involved, and eventually we find out there was some first round picks. We could revisit it. But as of right now, the deal only involves two players. As of right now. So we're gonna see. Owners don't want to pay the apron. I could see something like that, especially if it's not worth it. But yeah, man, this NBA, man, this is getting real. It's getting real, ladies and gentlemen. Trae Young, the first domino to be moved. You can't say this is a blockbuster because it wasn't. If it would have been a block, to make it a blockbuster, you'd have had to get about a couple of teams involved in this, multiple stars. That's what I would have liked to see. All of these stars involved, going all over the place. That would have been a blockbuster. So let's see where Trae Young should have asked to go to. Because he asked me, and the Hawks give the Hawks credit. Man, the Hawks sent him to his preferred destination. A lot of teams they trade their players, elsewhere, send them to Utah, and things like that. Trae did a lot in Atlanta. He brought them a lot of hope. So Atlanta they got fleeced, but I think they fleeced themselves. They devalued Trae. They didn't play him, how they should if they want to move him. They're not. Look at the Knicks, for instance. They playing all these young players. You got to see what's going on with New York. New York now they can make it seem like Mike Brown this and Mike Brown now. You got young players I ain't never seen or heard of, but they getting all these minutes. Looking like they producing. What the hell is all this about? Because they trying to use all these people in that deal potentially for Giannis, where you put Tyler Kolek and all these people we've never heard of to make it look like the Knicks got all these great young assets. That's what's going on. So we'll see, man. Trae Young, he has been traded to the Wizards. Washington, D.C. D.C. ain't really been lit, especially with the basketball once since Bradley Beal, since guys like John Wall. I hope that Trae Young could go there and reconnect with a guy like John Wall. I think that's something that those two need to basically get percolating. In my opinion, those two, he need to really connect with John. I mean, not John. I mean John Wall. John Wall is in the media, situation now. I seen him doing stuff with Peacock. But come on, what John Wall need to be doing something in DC. Point blank, period. But salute to all y'all, man. Shout out to Rap Guy Reloaded. Shout out to the Triple B's, man. LeVar Ball, you see what's going on. Big Baller Brand store in Cali just opened. I mean, the Big Baller podcast coming out. Just see what's going on. LeVar put a lot of things publicly. We all know LeVar Ball. He don't hide anything. Everything is out there. You know. So we shall see, man. Shout out Chuck Moore. Salute to everybody in the chat. Again, we got breaking news in the NBA. It's Flight Sports. Make sure you hit the like button if you're new. Most definitely hit the subscribe button. It's Flight Sports TV.